And there's Olga. Good evening.
Hello.
30, so I will call to order this special meeting of the Manchester Conservation Commission held tonight, May 29th, um, after a breakdown in our regularly scheduled meeting a week ago on the 22nd. This meeting is being held virtually and will follow the rules of the Commonwealth on those virtual meetings, meaning every vote will be by roll call. And anyone who does not want to have their image recorded in the Zoom recording should leave their camera turned off. Tonight we will have no public participation, although this is a public hearing. We're postponing until June 10th, our next regular meeting, the consideration of applications such as notices of intent or RDAs. So we will be dealing with exclusively with matters that are open to the public but do not allow public input. That said, let me take the roll. And I'll start with commissioners, and that would be Dr. Olga Hayes,
Here.
Mr. David Lumsden,
Here.
Dr. Gordon Turner,
Here.
Dr. Henry Ottinger,
Here.
and I'm Steve Gang, the chair. That makes five of us, so I note that a quorum is present and proper. We also have our staff, Bethany Barstow, there she is, and we may be joined later by Mark Resnick, the town director of land management.
Am I the only one on? I think there's 30 people.
Marianne, thank you for joining. Thank you for muting. So, with those preliminaries out of the way, let's begin. Our first items are two requests for certificate of compliance. The first is Mass DEP 39-832, map 28, lot 30, Central Street east of Elm Street. And I will call on Nate or his consultants to give us the short presentation of this request.
Yep. So basically, this is to close out the two orders of conditions that were initially applied for back in, 2020, 2021 for the Central Street and Central Pond projects. Obviously, neither of those projects went to construction, so nothing was done on either of those projects. So we need to close those out so new NOIs can be issued, order conditions for to renew them.
Good. Any questions or debate about this formality? I'm hearing none. Commission ready to vote?
I have a question.
I'm sorry. Marianne, unfortunately, this is not a matter for public participation. You're welcome to submit a question to Bethany or to me offline, or certainly to come to the meeting on June 10, where we will be taking up these same projects, but in in the form of a new
Have you noticed about it?
filing. Does that make sense to you?
What? Yeah, well, I just, from the notice, it sounded like it was a meeting for the abutters and that I was supposed to attend.
No.
No, this is a meeting just to handle material and decisions that can be made without public input, and that's certificates of compliance, orders of condition on closed hearings, and internal business of the Concom.
So ask what
But
you
on
did.
June 10, we will take these up, and abutters will be welcome, and they will be heard. So mark that on your calendar. I hope you can attend then.
Oh, I'll attend. Um,
Okay.
We
so
vote,
you-
Mr. Chair.
Yes, we're about to vote. Let me
So this
poll
is-
the commission. Gordon,
Aye.
Henry,
Aye.
Olga,
Aye.
David,
Aye.
and I am an aye. So that is unanimous as to DEP file 39832. The next one is 39824, same address, Central Street, east of Elm Street. This was, the first one was the tide gate, the second one was the proposed retaining wall repair replacement. And again, for the public's sake, all we are doing here is the formality of dismissing a prior application on which no work has been done at all, and clearing the way for a new application, which we will hear June 10th. Can I hear a motion to grant that certificate of compliance?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, David,
Aye.
Gordon,
Aye.
Olga,
Aye.
Henry,
Aye.
and I'll make that unanimous. 5 in favor, none opposed. Both certificates are granted. Thank you, Nate and team.
Thanks all.
The next matter we're taking up is an order of condition for a hearing we closed at our meeting on April 29, I think, which was for 9 Proctor Street. This was an amended order of condition dealing with relocation of a leaching field and some other matters related to Title V. Has everyone read the order of condition, or would you like me to put it up on the screen?
Steve, did that make the agenda?
Not on the agenda.
I was confused if I could add it or not because this is my first time doing this special non-public meeting.
Well, orders of condition, as I understand it, Henry, are matters for the commission to deliberate. They are not, no one is allowed any further public or consultant or applicant input. So I think as long as this is a properly noticed meeting, we can take this up since no one else can contribute besides us, except Bethany or Mark with advice as our staff.
Cool. Got it.
And I think the reason to do it is we're a month out now and it is time to vote it. So again, have you looked at it? Does anybody remember any questions? Want me to review the special conditions?
Steve, I don't want to create a problem, but I also want to make sure that we don't get ourselves in trouble. With the
Okay.
library trustees, a motion can be made for an item that's not on the agenda, but it cannot be voted on the same meeting that new topic and new motion is brought up if it's not on the agenda. So I don't know whether that rule would apply here, but it sure seems like it might.
Well, it might. I would argue that orders of condition are on every agenda automatically. That's part of our process. That's because they're on a schedule. They're timed. If we don't take them up, we violate another rule, which is the 21-day maximum. And as it happens, our administrator took the initiative to file the draft order with DEP a week ago when it was still timely. And I've pointed out to her that it's not official. So I'm hoping that there are no changes other than typos. So we are kind of stuck here, but if the majority of the commission's uncomfortable, we can certainly wait till June 10th. We were already past the 21-day. That'll be another 14. I don't think anyone will be harmed. And we would have crossed all T's and dotted all I's. That would also give Bethany time to notify DEP that it is not formally voted yet. What's your take?
I'll vote. We can go.
Okay.
I'm comfortable voting on it. I just don't want to forewarn everybody. We may hear about this topic again.
We may.
Sorry about that.
Well,
I didn't realize.
Yep, fair enough. All right, let me move then that we accept the order of conditions as drafted for 9 Proctor Street, which is DEP file 39920 for Chris and Christine Caparato with the special and perpetual conditions we drafted. Is there a second?
Second,
Thank you. All in favor? Olga?
aye.
Henry?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Gordon?
Aye.
And I am an aye as well. Thanks. Which brings us to the minutes we have for April 8th and April 29th. Start with April 8th. Any corrections or additions from anybody?
I just have on page 3 a couple of probably typos. On 69 Bridge Street, second line, the project involves raising and rebuilding. Raising is misspelled.
Good catch.
And then 44 Norwood Ave, 1, 2, third paragraph. Again, second line, the applicant will consult with the Conservation Commission instead of the applicant consult.
Okay.
That's all I had on that. Wait, no, and I had one on page 5. Right at the top, it's Lolly Gibson, not Molly Gibson.
Oh, thank you. Lolly Gibson. Excellent. All right, let me move we accept the minutes for April 8th, 2025 as amended. Second.
Second,
All those in favor, David,
Aye.
Gordon,
Aye.
Henry,
Aye.
Olga,
aye.
and I'll make that unanimous. One more is April 29. We should have a shout out here to Shannon, who has been preparing these
Yep, I have nothing
quite,
on.
quite nicely.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't have anything on it either. Anybody else? Okay. I'll move we accept April 29, 2025 minutes as written. Second.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, Gordon,
Aye.
David,
Aye.
Henry,
Aye.
Olga,
Aye.
and I am an aye. So we are done with minutes. Thank you. Which brings us to the conservation restriction from Greenbelt for the De Normandy property. I noticed Chris Lapointe is here tonight, and so is Dave McKinnon, perhaps others. Chris, do you want to introduce this to us?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, Commissioners. Thanks for time on the agenda. Kind of an exciting moment, at least for us, I'm sure for you as well, in that we've gotten to a point on the De Normandy Conservation Project where we're kind of down to final details. I should say, while I see they've turned their cameras on, I want to note that my colleague Elizabeth Harkness, who's our land conservation specialist, and Dave McKinnon from our stewardship team are on the call as well. So as you all know, we, with the help of the town of Manchester and a state grant and significant private fundraising, successfully raised $3 million to purchase the De Normandy land, 330 acres in Manchester and Gloucester, and Greenbelt, in fact, purchased that land at the beginning of January. So both as a condition of the Landscape Partnership Grant and as a condition of the CPA investment in the project that town meeting approved in the fall, Greenbelt is to convey a conservation restriction over the approximately 30 some odd acres in Manchester that are presently unencumbered by a restriction otherwise. So the restriction that's before you this evening is from Greenbelt to the Conservation Commission. It's been reviewed by Town Council. It's been approved by the State Division of Conservation Services for local signatures, which means we can, we can move to sign and finalize the document and move forward towards a closing, likely in early June. I will also note, as you're probably aware, it's customary, it's a best practice to have what's called a baseline documentation report, which we have for all 250 plus conservation restrictions that Greenbelt holds. And that's a report which essentially documents the condition of the property at the time the conservation restriction is recorded, so that both Greenbelt and the town forevermore have an objective measure that we've agreed to that represents the condition of the property at the time of recording. So we've actually engaged a company called Woodsman Inc. That has time in the next couple of weeks to do the data collection, the photography, the report generation. And so we've engaged them. That's a report that you will all have an opportunity to take a look at, and we will mutually sign that. But I just wanted to point that out, that that's something that's coming, and we will have that before the end of June. But
Excellent.
in any event, that's essentially the summary. I think it's a fairly straightforward conservation restriction in the scheme of things. We don't have any unusual reserved rights like, the right to build a swimming pool or a helicopter pad or anything. It's trails, vegetation, maintenance, habitat, restoration and management. I think we reserved the right for a viewing platform, fairly benign uses as you would expect.
Yes, that was my reading too. Thanks for the introduction, Chris. And that was congratulations again on the hard work and reward here.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments from the commission? My only comment, and this is not a criticism because I don't think it requires any change, is that the utility of this land as a watershed for drinking water supply wasn't called out. But I think it's covered fine under the many other public benefits of wetlands protection recognized by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, because it is a primary one of those when you're talking about wetlands and water quality. Some of us just have a particular interest in the water that flows into the aquifer that provides about a third of our water through the town well.
Yes, and that is a fair point. I think in the context of the number of days and/or weeks it would take the state to bless that totally minor and reasonable change, we might agree to not include it this time around.
Fine with me.
But your point is taken.
Okay, then I think it falls to us to vote to approve this so that we can send it along to the select board, which is I believe, the last step in the town accepting this CR.
Yes,
And
if I
then
could
just
point out, so that the commission, obviously, if you so choose to vote to accept it this evening, there's a signature page. Your signatures need to be notarized. The select board has this on the agenda Monday evening. They will have to have their signatures notarized on a single-sided version of the document, and then we'll work with town council to get to closing.
Good. Okay, so should we try to get that done before Monday night, or can we wait until the select board votes and all do it with one?
I think if it's convenient to do it ahead of time, that's fine, but it's not necessary. I think that however the town customarily collects signatures and notarizes such things, if that happens in the earlier part of next week, that would be great.
Okay, and will you need all of the commission members voting tonight to sign?
That would.
or the full commission, I should say.
That would be great. Yep. Commission to have signed the document unless otherwise delegated to the chair to sign.
Good.
But in general, the state prefers to see at least a quorum of the
Right.
commission.
Well, and the five of us at least will make sure we get it signed. Once Bethany has the signature page ready.
Yeah.
All right, then let me move that we accept the CR from Essex County Greenbelt Association, Inc. to the town of Manchester by the Sea Conservation Commission as of May 29th, 2025. Is there a second? Thank
Second.
you. All those in favor? Gordon,
Aye.
David,
Aye.
Olga,
Aye.
Henry,
Aye.
and the chair is an aye. It's unanimous. Congratulations and thanks again, Chris, Elizabeth, Dave.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much, and congratulations to you as well. It's a partnership with the town. It's wonderful. Thank you so much.
It is.
Amen.
Thank you.
See you on the trails. Now we move to new, other, and old business. Some thrilling matters, including, let's start with the beavers. We postponed decision on the Beaver Solutions proposal just a little above $2,000, was it? $2,082.50 for maintenance work at 7 sites. We wanted some clarity about the balance of funds in our various accounts and also our budget for the end of this fiscal year and for next fiscal year. So, do we have that information? Bethany, do you have that at your fingertips? I was hoping Mark would be here to guide us through this part because it's still a little bit murky to me.
It's still, you're mute, Bethany.
Sorry, can you ask that question again? Sorry, my volume was low.
Yes, we wanted to know what the balance is in the various funds.
Yeah,
of
let me
conservation.
Let me
And-
screen share that. Just give me a second.
Okay,
Oh my goodness.
and we also wanted to know what budget is left in
Mhm.
this fiscal year and how much we have for next.
It is loading, so just give it a second.
Okay.
Can everyone see?
Yeah.
So here is the fiscal year 25. So actively right now, this is the budget for this year. This is the active budget. And what Mark and I were investigating was either the beavers can be paid for with this general fund underneath the Conservation Lands Management Plan. And there's $10,000 here. Or it can be under the Community Preservation Act. We read the memo together, me and Mark, under the preservation of conservation land, and that's $20,000.
And those are balances currently.
Yes, as you
available.
can see, nothing was spent from either of
Right.
those.
Okay, and which one of those, into which one of those does our share of the Wetlands Protection Act, WPA fees go?
It's
Ah, there it is.
here, but there's like, I'm confused because this was like, I feel like it doesn't say anything, but I think it's supposed to be here. Yes, Henry?
Thank you, Bethany. So two quick questions. My first is financially, I
Mhm.
would recommend taking from the $20,000 fund versus the $10,000 fund, just because it's greater. But my second question is, how do those funds come into the Conservation Commission balance sheet? Where are they from?
That's the big question. I believe, I don't know how this conservation land, I asked Mark and I feel like he couldn't really explain it to me. I know, this was all before my time, obviously, and he's consolidated it a bit in the fiscal year 26. But I did read a memo about the conservation lands management plan, and I'm not sure how it was there. I know this is a CPC fund. I'm not sure how the land management plan got there, but I do know that it exists.
Okay, so I'll stick with my recommendation on where
Okay.
to draw funds if we vote
Yeah.
the resolutions, and then I guess I'll put as a placeholder, Steve, could we look maybe at the next meeting at the how and whys of the fees that we receive per application? That number didn't look so big to me.
No, it's way too small. $562 can't even be the,
Well, I know
Well,
Gotta
and
be
it's
Jason
negative
one
too.
usually
application.
processes the checks. So I'm like learning how to do that just so I can do it on my own. So I'll find out like where he actually processes them and where do they go soon.
Awesome. And I
yeah,
can give you my account numbers, and some of that can be funneled off into my account anytime.
surely.
Anytime. Sounds good.
We have at least two funds, and I don't know where the CPC money goes. And my belief is that the CPC holds on to these grants until they are requested, so to speak. So, for example, they are holding the Causeway Brook restoration grants, um, or they were up to the point where we announced we weren't going to use them, and they put them back into their general funds. And I suspect the same is true with the preservation of conservation land, but I was not aware of that ever being proposed in their budget or voted by town meeting. So maybe it's ancient. I don't actually know. The two funds that we have, one of them is replenished by local fees and our share of the WPA fees given to DEP. And that, generally has between $5,000 and $12,000 in it. So I don't see it reflected here. The other thing we have is called the Conservation Fund, which I think is the 10. And my guess is that was just added by Greg Fetterspiel's steps, if it's this fiscal year, or by town, inclusion in the budget.
Oh, that was what you
Voted
requested?
by, yeah, that's what I had it requested from Greg. So it's kind of has a symmetry with that. But I don't know. That's why I say this is still a little murky. There's a little more homework to do. And then the budget for next year, Bethany,
You want me
did
to
we
pull
get?
that up? I have
Yeah,
both, but we might need a meeting with Greg to really fully understand
understand this.
what's going on. Because
You
Mark
have the thing,
and
the
Andrea couldn't really
table.
explain it to me.
Yeah, that's the table I have, except mine has more numbers in it.
This is the one I've been emailed, so
Okay. So that says that the request for next fiscal year, which is the first column filled in over there, was $25,000 in professional services. And I guess that could certainly include Beaver Solutions, although I'm wondering what else it's supposed to. I'm sorry, it's now down to $20,000, requested 25. Huh. Okay. Um, and apparently that's all of land management, so that would include the planning board, the ZBA perhaps, and any projects initiated by Mark. So again, we need a little more detail about how much of that can be spent, if
Right.
any, by the Concom.
The consolidated one is a little bit confusing. Andrea, the accountant, couldn't really explain to me the, like line by line item because they're all consolidated. So I think it might be a meeting with like Mark and Greg to dive deep in this budget. But I added it to this agenda for you all to like see and have more clarity, as well as me, as what our
Right.
budget
But
actually is.
to Henry's point, we clearly have enough funds in one or more
Yeah,
of those
yeah.
accounts to cover $2,100 of Beaver Solutions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'd also kind of just broadly recommend that we request for the next fiscal year, there's no change in the numbers. And I mean, typically they would increase by at least the rate of inflation, I hope, or more than that, unless I'm way off on this.
Yeah, I'm afraid, Henry, that this was a give and take year where the
Okay.
school budget was taking and all the other departments were giving back,
Okay. Yep.
except for fire department with a new position.
Got it.
Yeah, at least that's what I was told, but specifics will help. So, would someone like to move we authorize the maintenance budget for Beaver Solutions?
So moved.
Thank you, Olga. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. And following Henry's advice, we'll ask that be spent from the $20,000 balance in the funds provided by CPA. All those in favor? Gordon?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Olga?
Aye.
Henry?
Aye.
And I'll make that unanimous. Good. There's another matter involving beavers, but we probably should wait till Mark is available to discuss it. It's our old friend, the Onion River. And Mark has trekked around there even more in the last 10 days and determined that the pond, so-called, it is a nice pond right on the Beverly-Manchester border, is higher than it was historically, meaning the wall that was built to retain its outlet with outlet cutouts in it reflects the original height of the pond, would have been at the level of the cutout for water to flow out. The beavers, just over many years, have built up against that wall. And while the beaver deceiver is lowering the pond level, it's not taking it down to the level of the original outlet. So Mark has some ideas about how to fix that and thinks it might be the easy way to calm down at least one vociferous neighbor in Beverly. I'm a little less certain about that because my experience is beavers build things back up rather quickly. In fact, they kind of enjoy the give and take of us taking down their dams and them rebuilding them. In which case, it probably isn't going to make much difference. The key would be to lower the beaver deceiver, the diverter, down to that lower level, which it is not presently, and figure out the physics so that it drains. So, long and short, I think we can wait for Mark on the specifics of doing a project out there. But in the meantime, we could ask John Callahan and Mike Egan at Beaver Solutions, can you lower that pond level? Without pulling out and replacing that whole system you put in. Can you just adjust where it sits as it passes over the outlet wall? Any other comments on beavers?
Other than the fact that I like them.
Everybody likes beavers except farmers, neighbors, and
I like to wear them.
Get a
they
nice
do remain
beaver
like
tail
the,
hat.
the best hats. Yes. In
Oh,
fact,
Be, be Lewis and Clark.
there's a wonderful book about them called "They Used to Be Hats." A couple of other shorter things. One is that some of you, I think, attended the site visit for the proposed Gloucester Waste Transfer Facility on Condelin Road. It's in Gloucester, but it's up gradient and a short distance from the Manchester line and from Wolf Creek, Wolf Trap Creek. And it appears from the initial hearing that the design is very scrupulous about containing all liquid effluent from the site with holding tanks and full concrete floor and a variety of other things. So barring some kind of natural disaster, that seems to be accommodated. It's unclear about um, particulate discharge and of course noise and traffic are an issue. But what was at least my major concern, I think ours is a wetlands group, that one seems to be handled. It's not a foregone conclusion that the thing will get approved. Um, it hasn't even been before the Concom in Gloucester yet, and they're well aware of the hazards. Anybody have any firsthand information about it other than that?
No, I wasn't able to attend, but I'm glad to hear that it sounds like it's being designed to make sure you don't have stuff running across the street and then down into, yeah, our wetlands.
One of the very attentive members of the stream team attended, and she's a retired biologist, and she came back with the opinion that this is good protection for liquid effluent discharge, which is enough for me.
was that Lynn?
No, it was Francie.
Oh, Francie.
Yeah, they're both scrupulous. You're right.
Yeah, they're both.
Mark asked, excuse me, Mark asked about beavers. Mark asked, is Steve still trying to see if the Eagle Scout or it's, Boy Scouts gonna go out there?
Oh, yeah, I floated that idea in front of the troop Boy Scout troop committee, Boy and Girl Scout now, and nobody thought it was a project for youngsters.
I was like, Mark, I'll just go out there.
Yeah, the few people who know about it know it's a hard site to access, so it'd be very difficult to remove material from it for kids particularly. And the water is fairly deep in front of the outlet. So it's not an easy place to work. Looked more like a professional job to them. And I couldn't argue.
Yeah, I'll just go out there with some boots.
Yeah.
And like a
Well,
back.
you'll need waders in addition to boots.
Waders and tie yourself to a tree.
Well, there's no flow. Well, there could be flow. If you opened up the outlet, there could be some flow, yeah. The next matter is hybrid meetings. I am told by a variety of sources, we're going to get some pressure from the select board to return to meeting the commissioners and staff in person and anybody else who wants to over Zoom, which we had up to this point declined to do. What's your take on that? Should we
I think
accede or not?
we got the problem fixed with because she did listen to us with disabling the verification requirement. That's what happened last week, guy. So I think the Zoom will operate smoothly from now on, now that we all have, well, like Steve and I have access, but whatever you guys want, of course.
My opinion is
Well,
that
that'd be an issue whether we were hybrid or exclusively Zoom. We need the Zoom.
Yes. Well, there's no Zoom issues anymore.
Got it. Henry,
I don't see a need for meeting in person if the Zoom is working correctly. It's served us for 2 or 3 years, and it can serve us for 2 or 3 more.
David?
I agree with Henry 100%. This is very convenient, and some of our meetings run quite late. I think this is something we should insist upon, continuing with Zoom.
I think until they give us no choice, we should continue.
Yes.
What's the pressure?
I don't know exactly. I've been given a heads up, not a decision or an argument. But apparently it's going to come up in that we are the last major board or commission in town to meet only virtually.
CPC meets virtually. If that
Ah.
counts as a good.
I would call them major. They spend a lot of money.
Right.
Yeah.
More
That's
than we
good to
do.
know. I was mizzled.
We can save on burning carbon to get to the meeting in person.
We have a much smaller carbon footprint.
There we go.
Yep. Until
I
AI
think
takes
I would
over.
have to sleep over, like in the seaside one if we met in person, like with a sleeping bag.
Yeah, it's like after curfew for getting home, right? It's like so late.
I live like sometimes the traffic an hour away. Yeah.
I have a guest room, Bethany, if that needs to happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
We can drag each
Well,
other.
I take the sense that this is not just our preference, but there's a strong practical reasons for us to continue doing this, not just to aid the applicants and consultants, but also to make the task of volunteering easier for us.
Yes.
And the Zoom is working. So
Yay. Last thing on my list is that the middle school reached out to us to
yeah.
ask if there's some conservation projects they could work on. And I think that the subtext here is that middle schoolers, 8th graders need to have a certain number of community service hours before school closes, which would be in 10 days. And some of them are a little desperate. So I said I would bring it up last Thursday, and also I would check with the scouts who had some projects that went on, but unfortunately were completed by the time this came up. So I'm tossing it out there for suggestions.
What about cleaning up the seaweed on the beaches? A lot of it since the storm from 2 weeks ago.
We have a rake that does
We have
that.
a rake, yeah.
Do we have any obvious trails that they can perhaps clean up? I mean, I've walked around Powder House. That looks pretty good until the beaches all fall down.
Right.
And I walked in the wilderness conservation area on the boardwalk, and that looks okay. I'm just wondering, are there any that people might have walked that we can send a few people to go clean up?
I mean, honestly, even just like along the main roads here, not that we want kids on the roads, but where there's sidewalks and stuff, and wooded areas in town up on Pine Street, and I'm sure there's other spots where there's just, you can always find litter there just from people tossing it out of their cars.
That's true, particularly around the entrances to 128 on Pine.
Yeah, that might be a little dangerous up there where there's no sidewalks,
Yeah,
but
it's a little.
where there's sidewalks and stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
They get exuberant. We had them do a cleanup in Powder House, and they were javelins throwing and whatnot. So you have to kind of control them.
Yeah.
I was thinking about like the green crabs, but I don't know. That was just
Hmm.
a little idea.
Wait, what's the green
They
flag?
being built.
Just to like
They're
look
being
look for them to see like how many there are in one of the beaches in Manchester. I'm not
Mhm.
really familiar with the town still, so I couldn't really help them out. But
Are there any groups that are like tracking that they could submit their data to if they collected
that's what
it?
I was trying to like figure out. I was
Hmm.
gonna like look more into it
Mhm.
tomorrow if you guys seemed like that would be a good idea. But
Yeah, we can check with Salem Sound Coast Watch about
Hmm.
green crab.
That's Barbara Warren,
Mhm.
and get to her most easily through Olga's daughter, Jessica.
Yeah,
Olga, the only trail I can think of offhand is the one around Dexter Pond. And the issue there is uh, that kind of trail maintenance is going to require some cutting tools, and um, I mean, I suppose you could supervise eighth graders, but I will personally, I'm not going to sign up to do that. And I'm wondering who would do it if you can't just turn them loose with rakes and saws and clippers.
yeah, like
Is the
who
school providing any kind of supervision for this?
like that's what I was like talking to Steve about. Like I'm not sure who's watching them or
Well, yeah, the team lead for eighth grade, what's it called? General education? No, whatever.
civics.
The Joan McWhorter is. I haven't spoken to her, but they gave me her email as the person who's going to coordinate this. So I suppose
And supervise?
that's the question.
We're
Uh,
assuming so.
I don't think typically that teachers volunteer to supervise community service, although I could be wrong.
so
Yeah,
we
I
don't
wonder if they're
even
just
know
looking.
how many hours are needed, how many kids
He
are
said 3 to
involved.
5, but I don't know how many kids.
3 to 5 hours per kid?
I think
Mhm.
just like as a general group, you know. I don't
Oh,
know how
a
many. I don't know how
one-time,
many kids,
like
but
a one-time, Bethany, a one-time 3 to 5 hour stint?
that's what I'm.
That was my understanding.
Ah,
I have a question for Olga.
yeah.
Jessica was trying to lead a CPC-funded project for cleaning up Sawmill Brook, especially near the elementary school. I don't think they got volunteers. I wonder if this is too complex a job for eighth graders. What do you think?
Not someone supervising. I mean, they love to. They like to get dirty. I like to get dirty in projects like that.
Mhm.
I'll ask, let me ask Jess and see if this is even appropriate for what they want to do.
Okay.
So I'll ask her.
I have a
No,
maybe
I'll email
incorrect,
you, Bethany.
got a maybe politically incorrect suggestion, which is that there's places around Dexter Pond and Powder House, um, well, even in Winthrop Track, I'm sure in the Western Woods, where kids go to have little revelry at night, and there's usually beer cans and mini alcohol bottles and other debris scattered around there. They're not on the trails. They're off the trails, obviously, and some of them are pretty well hidden. I'm sure I haven't found all of them, but I do a fair amount of bushwhacking with my dog, and we come across these. She, in particular, is interested because she'll find a leftover pizza crust or something delicious like that. It's only been out in the woods for 3 weeks, so it's
Do
perfectly
you know
edible.
do you know of any that these kids can clean up?
Yeah, I know of 4 or 5 or 6 in Powder House, believe it or not.
Oh, well, there's
Um,
that's what we did the last time when we did Powder House.
yeah. But I'd have to lead them there. So I just don't see myself doing that in between now and June 8th, which is their, or 10th, which is their
I
deadline.
think it's unreasonable to come in at this late moment and say, we need hours for these kids.
They actually
Well, they're eighth grade.
Because there
they're
are
eighth
other
graders, it's their
issues
job
that,
to be on
that come to my mind, like having worked in the schools, any volunteer who wanted to come in and work with kids had to be quarried.
Yeah.
And, this is not something you can do overnight.
It sounds like maybe they were just asking for ideas for things. It's not clear to me, Steve, if they wanted an actual project that we were supervising. But maybe we should keep it in mind for next year's cycle to see if there's projects that,
Henry's dog is yawning. Shall we move on?
Is that Wolfie?
I thought Henry moved into his dog form.
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Well,
part of
no,
the Greenbelt
yeah.
discussion was about trails, and I wasn't sure if we were going to
Yes,
get to that or not.
I'm sorry, what is this pertaining to Normandy?
Yeah, part of the agenda item was to talk about the trails out there, and wasn't sure if we were
I
going to get
missed
to
it
that.
completely. Please, you might be perfectly relevant right now. Go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, so I'd been emailing a couple folks in town. I think Mark Resnick was one of the folks I had chatted with. And at Greenbelt, my job is sort of to deal with or figure out the public access portion to Normandy. And in doing so, one of the ideas that we came up with was marking a trail that leaves from Dexter Pond, goes through to Normandy into the MECT Hooper Trask property across the train tracks. If we labeled the trail on our map, we were going to label it in sort of this blue color with blue markers, but it would require putting about blue markers on about 1,500 feet of trail that's on town of Manchester land. And so we were wondering if it would be okay for us to put Greenbelt trail markers on that small portion of trail to sort of help with the sort of public access and public safety navigation of that property.
Is that the back way, Dave, that steep hill? From Dexter
It
Pond?
leaves from the Dexter Pond parking lot. It's across the street from the Dexter Pond parking lot and sort of goes uphill to
Oh,
the
it's that
Normandy
the other way.
Woods.
Yep.
So I guess it's
Beautiful
even say the west side of Colburn Road.
Is there,
What kind of trail markers do you use, Dave?
If you haven't seen them, the Greenbelt plastic trail markers, they're about 4 inches by 4 inches square, and we have ones with different colors on them to delineate the different trails that are out there.
Can you tack them on trees?
Yeah, we use aluminum nails to put them on because that way if a chainsaw's got to cut through them, it can cut through aluminum instead of being steel.
Yep. I don't see any problem with that.
I don't
in
either.
our role as administrators of the conservation restrictions on those lands. Anybody?
I think
I
it's a
don't
great idea. It's very confusing back there right now.
Yeah, I've
People
been
can turn
I've been
around.
spending this spring trying to figure out the best sort of way to put some colors out there to make it a little more understandable and make it so people don't get too lost out in that greater expanse of woods.
Good
Part of the
idea.
great Manchester tradition, go take a walk in the woods and get lost.
That's how I grew up.
that's how I grew up.
But nowadays, we like to keep people safe.
Okay, so should we take a vote, just saying in our humble opinion as administrators of the conservation purposes there, this is fine?
Yes.
Great.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Gordon? Can't hear you. You're there.
Yes. Hi.
Thank you. David,
Aye.
Henry,
Aye.
Olga,
Aye.
Jeffrey,
Hi.
and I'm an aye, 6 in favor. Thanks, Dave. Sorry to make you wait.
Oh, no problem.
Very
Thank you
good
guys for your
idea.
time and volunteering for the town.
Let us know if you need help.
Will do. Appreciate it.
Okay, so I guess the upshot of the discussion of middle school conservation projects is that either Bethany or I will get back directly to Joan McWhorter
Mhm.
and tell her we have some ideas about cleanup in the woods, or even trail maintenance, but that it would require either one would require some supervision from them.
Mhm.
And I'll ask Jessie about around the school, whether she would be interested in being part of that, and I'll let you both know this evening or tomorrow.
Thank you. Okay, that's all I have on my agenda. Any other items not previously envisioned when we made the agenda?
Oh, goody, may I move to adjourn?
Second,
All those in favor indicate by vigorously nodding their head. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Just
everybody.
under an hour.
aye.
My nod has been muted.
Thanks for coming, Jeff.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you.